In this lesson, we are going to have a look at fractions. Now, a fraction is a part of a whole e.g., we have a loaf of bread here. Loaf of bread there. If you have a loaf of bread there, this loaf can be divided divided on this part here. This one will be half, and this one will be half. But if we go further to divide that loaf into half of a half, we have a quarter here, quarter there, the quarter there. If you add the 4 quarters, will give you a full loaf, the whole loaf. So, if you have half a loaf, it simply means you have 2 quarters there. Half a loaf is made of the 2 quarters. Now, let's look at 1 quarter and look at the half, yeah? 3 quarters. Now, let's express these common fractions. These are common fractions. As decimals. Now, common fractions to decimals. Common fractions to decimals. To decimal fraction. Common fraction to a decimal fraction. We will say 1/4. We say 4 into 1. That's not possible. Can't. We put a small 0 there. Now we say 4 into 10 goes 2 times. 2 times 4 is 20. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. So it means from the 10, we are left with a 2. From the 10, we are left with a 2. And from that 2, so that 4 can go, we put a small 0 there. 4 into 20 will go 5 times. So 1/4 in a decimal is 0.25. Let's look at the half. We say 2 into a 1. Can't, that's not possible. We put a small 0 there. say 2 into 10, that goes 5 times. Therefore, a fraction 1 over 2 in the decimal is 0.5. Let's look at 3 over 4. You say 4 into 3, that's not possible. Put a small 0 there. 4 into 30 should go there 7 times. And 7 times 4 is 28. 30 minus 28, remainder a 2. The 4 into 2 cancel, we put a small 0 there. 4 into 20, that goes 5 times. So 3/4 is the same as 0.75. 0.75. Now, we should be in the position to move from a common fraction into a decimal fraction, in as well as moving from a decimal fraction back to a common fraction. Let's see what happens when you move from a decimal fraction to a common fraction. Let's say you have 0.5. We say 0.5. Now, against this comma, you put 1 for the comma. For a digit, for a number, you put a 0. So, if we had, let's say, let's continue this one, go to your next one. We will have, and that will become 5 over 10. And then 5 over 10. You say 5 here goes once, 5 here goes 2 times. We remain with 1 over 2. We have successfully managed to move from a decimal fraction to a common fraction. Let's have a look at the other one. We look at 0.75. That will be 0.75. Here we put a digit 0, another digit 0. That becomes 75 over 100. Now what's common here? 25 goes 25, you have 75 over 100. We divide by 25 on top there. We divide by 25 on the bottom. We divide by 25. Divide by 25. And 25 and 75 goes 3 times. and into 100, therefore 25. So 0.75 is equal to 3/4 as the common fraction. Let's go and have a look at 125. So 0.125. Against this comma, we put a 1, a digit, and that becomes 125 over 1,000. 25 goes there 5 times. Look for a common number that can divide on the denominator and the numerator. We divide here by 25. We also divide there by 25. That 25 into 125 goes 5 times. 25 into 1,000 to be 40 times, because here it will be 4 times. Then we can say 5 here. We can go again, divide by 5. Therefore, 5 divided by 5 is a 1. 40 divided by 5 is an 8. So 0.125 is 1/8. Now, we have managed to move from a decimal common fraction to a decimal, from a decimal to a common fraction. Now let's see what happens if we have to express a fraction in terms of percentage. Let's say in your math classwork, in your math homework, John got 3 out of 5 problems, and say express this as a percentage. Express this marks in percentages. So we'll say 3/5 multiplied by 100%. That should be 300 here divided by 5. 5 here once, 5 here 20. 20 times 3 is 60%. So John managed to score 60% in that class, in that homework activity. Now, we are going to have a look at somebody who got 1 and somebody who got 5 out of 5. Let's compare what John got to what Julius got. Julius got 1/5 multiplied by 100%, and that will be 100/5. 5 here once, 5 here 20. So Julius got only 20%. Let's have a look at someone who got 5/5, all the problems correctly. It's 5/5 for Peter. So it's going to be 5/5 times 100/1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. The number over itself is 1. So this anything multiplied by 1. Now here you appreciate that Peter got everything. He got 100%. Peter got 100%. Let's have a look at now what happens when you have to add the fractions or subtract the fractions. If you have 1/2 minus 1, let's say plus 1/3 first. Now we say 1/2 plus 1/3. But we agree that 2/2 is the same as 1, which also means 3/3 is the same as 1. And we also agree that 100 times 1 is 100. So 1,000,000 times 1 is 1,000,000. So 1,000 times 1 is 1,000. So you realize that if you multiply by 1, you haven't done anything. The number remains as it is. So you say 1 is an identity element for multiplication. Anything multiplied by 1 is nothing. So you agree that this is 1. We are going to write that 1 in that fashion and see what's going to happen. We write as 2/2. We multiply by 1 there. Agree that when you multiply by 1, you haven't done any change there. Agreeing on that, 1 times 3 will be a 3. 2 times 3 will be a 6. 1 times 2 will be a 2. 3 times 2 will be a 6. Then in your previous grade, you know that if the denominator is the same, you only write 1, and that's going to be 3 plus 2, and that will give you 5. over 6, and that will be your answer. Let's have a look at what happens when we subtract. When we subtract, let's say the very half minus a third. This will be 1 over 2 minus that. For the denominator to be the same, we simply multiply by 1 here. And our 1 will take this shape. That will be 1 over 6 minus 2 over 6. The answer will be 1 minus 2, and that will be 1 minus 2 is minus 1. That will be minus 1 over 6. And that will be the answer. Now, let's look at addition of mixed fractions and subtraction of mixed fractions. Like if I have 1, 2/3 plus 1/2, this for us to add can be 1 plus 1 plus 2 over 3 plus 1 over 2. That will give you a 2 plus. This is the process we have done in the previous question, where we have 2 over 3 plus 1 over 2. To have a common denominator, we will multiply here by 2 over 2, same as multiply by 1, here by 3 over 3. This will give us a 2 plus 4 over 6, 3 over 6. That gives us a 2, 4 plus 3. That gives us a 2, 7 over 6. Take our 2 along. 6 into 7 ones, remainder 1 over 6. That is basically 3 plus 1 over 6. That's what you have there. This is 3, 1 over 6. Or, on the other hand, you can have 1/2 plus 1.5. This 1, 2 over 3 plus 1, 1 over 2. These are mixed fractions. These are mixed fractions. Because we have a whole number in a fraction. Now, if you write this as an improper fraction, you say 3 times 1 is a 3. 3 times 1 is a 3 plus the 2, which is the numerator. So it's going to be 3 plus 2, which is a 5 over a 3 plus 2 times 1 is a 2 plus the 1 becomes a 3 over 2. Now let's look at 3 over 2. Sorry, we can say 2 into 3 goes once, remainder 1 over 2. So mixed fraction, improper fraction. It's very improper for an adult to be on a small child. So now we have 3 and 2 here. We can say, back to our knowledge, is 5 over 3 plus 2 plus 3 over 2. We multiply here by 3 over 3, which we agreed is a 1 by 2 over that. You just swap these numbers around so that we can have a common denominator of 6. In this case, once more, 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. Now, appreciate that we have a common denominator. Just write that. That will be 19 over 6. That's an improper fraction. 6 into 19 goes 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Remainder 1 over 6 again. That's exactly what we got on the previous exercise. That's what we have. Now, the same thing will happen if I add. Let's look at addition of those fractions once more. So look at those addition, subtraction of those fractions. 5, 3, 1 over 3 minus 1, 1 over 2. It's going to be 3 times 3, which is a 9, plus a 1. 3 times 3 plus a 1. 3 times is a 9 plus a 1, make up a 10 over 3 minus 2 times 1 is a 2 plus 1 is a 3 over 2. Now we have 10 over 3 minus 3 over 2. Now we multiply here by 3. Multiply here by 2. This is 20 over 6 minus 9 over 6. Common denominator, right? Only one. It's 20 minus a 9. That is 11 over 6. 6 into 11 goes once. If it be a 12, it will be twice. It's going to be once. Remainder 5 over 6. That's what we have. That's addition and subtraction. Let's look at the multiplication. The multiplication of fractions. We take this format. Let's say 3/5 times 2/3. This will be 3 times 2, 6, 5 times 3, 15. Now, what is common here is that 3 into 15 goes 2 times. 3 into 15 goes 5 times. So that becomes your answer there. Let's see what happens when you have a mixed fraction. 2/5 times 3, 1/2. This will come 5 times 2 is a 10 plus that 2 is going to be 12/5 times 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is a 7/2. Going to be 12 times 7. 12 times 2 is 14, carry 1. 7 plus 1 is 8/10. 10 into 84 is 8,4, or is 84 into 10, or this can be written as 8 remainder 4/10. This is 8. 2 here twice, 2 here 5 times. So in a mixed fraction is that, with the decimal it will be that. So it means 2/5 is the same as 4. That's what we have. Now let's have a look what happens when we divide. When we divide fractions, if I have 2/3 divided by 1, 3/5. This is 3 times 2, which is 6 plus 2 is 8/3. Divide by 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8/5. This becomes 8/3. Now, we change this sign into a multiplication. We change that sign into a multiplication. It becomes a multiplication sign, and this changes. The 5 goes up, and the 8 goes down. That becomes 8 times 5 is 40. 3 times 8 is 24. But 8 is common here. 8 into 40 goes 5 times. 8 into 24 goes 3 times. That will be 3 into 5 goes once. Remainder 2 over 3. Remainder 2 over 3. That's how far we go. Next time we look into operations where we have all 4 basic operations: multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction of fractions. All those 4 basic operations in those fractions. Hope you understood that. Next time.